Tonight on Chronicle,
Hey, put that down.
an uphill battle in Lawrence.
Heroin right now. Heroin is as bad, if not as worse as I've ever seen it.
I've often made the remark that it would be easier for us as investigators to find out who's not using cocaine versus who's using it.
But now a new weapon, confiscating welfare cards. Is it legal?
This is not Poland, you know. This is not Cuba.
It is Lawrence, Massachusetts, where the streets are under siege. Next on Chronicle.
Tonight, Peter Mahegan, Mary Richardson, with Andrea Hall and Mike Barnacle. Chronicle, the New England news magazine.
It is Monday morning. State police from the Essex County Drug Task Force get some new information. 1,000 bags of heroin have been delivered to a location in Lawrence over the weekend. Street value, $25,000. An informer makes a buy. A search warrant is prepared. It is all in a day's work.
Team 1, Cooper, Walsh, DeSantis, Rivet, and Coffey are going to go to the first floor, front door. People in here are hiding heroin there also in the garages.
These are the guys we want
Down,
right
put
here.
your hands in back of your head, back of your head, back of your head. Down.
If you are busted for drugs in Lawrence, Massachusetts, you may spend the night in jail. You may even be convicted 3 or 4 months down the road. But the mayor of Lawrence has armed his police with a new weapon. Now you may even have your welfare card confiscated.
I believe, entering on a warrant, I have the right, in my thinking as a police officer, there's probable cause to believe there's some kind of misuse of that card here. I have the right, all right, I have the right as a police officer to seize that information on that card, and I will do it.
This is not Poland, you know. This is not Cuba, you know, where you can just suspend portions of the Constitution for particular groups in the population just because you want to deal with specific social problems. That's dangerous.
There were very little risks for the drug dealer to take. They didn't have to work. They could stand on the corner all day and sell drugs, have an income mailed to them every month, and just enjoy life.
Lawrence has always attracted immigrants. Today, most are Hispanic. The city is small, barely 7 square miles. But residents here are grappling with big city problems. Nearly 20% of the population is on welfare. Since the mills closed 4 decades ago, Lawrence has been unable to pull itself out of an economic nosedive. A soaring drug problem has been the result.
Is it getting any better at all? Is it worse?
Heroin right now. Heroin is as bad, if not as worse as I've ever seen it. And I went in the drug unit in 1971.
In a recent case, we got $30,000 out of behind a molding that's been screwed in. The heroin can be anywhere from the floor to the ceiling, in clothing.
What is
a package here.
Yeah.
These are what we call them the on Red Eagle bags.
Heroin.
Heroin, yeah. Okay, it was tied up in a knot and stuffed in the sleeve of this quarter here.
Check the clothes.
So you learn to look everywhere.
You really have to. Like I say, here's a barrel, had a ring on the top and a cover. And they're just stashing anywhere and everything.
All of the heroin we got, every bit of it comes from New York. I would say 90% of the cocaine that arrives in Lawrence, maybe 95% is New York.
From New York to Lawrence. From Lawrence, fanning out over southern New Hampshire.
You get all classes, all types?
All classes, all businessmen, executives, salesmen, factory workers, construction workers.
Men and women?
Men and women, yes. Lawrence is a magnet.
Lately, it is the mayor's unprecedented anti-drug policy that is attracting national attention. What's the message you're trying to send to people about Lawrence?
come to Lawrence to work, to educate yourself, and to bring your children up in peace. Don't come here to break the law.
But some say it is the mayor who is breaking the law. A case now pending in federal court in Boston is testing the legality of his policy. Given the fact the drug problem is so bad, what's wrong with the mayor's plan to confiscate welfare cards?
My concern is in protecting individuals' constitutional rights. These individuals have only been accused. They have not gone through the constitutional process of a trial by their peers and found guilty. Once they're found guilty, hey, for all I care, lock them up with a chocolate key, eat it in front of them, and let them rot there, okay? But they have certain rights before you get to that level.
Legal or not, the policy continues. Since January of 1989, 160 cards have been confiscated, 52 during drug arrests, 86 for other felonies. Have you made some mistakes in the people whose cards you've taken away?
Well, I think so. I think we admitted that 22 cards were of people who were picked up for misdemeanors. But the fact is that our policy is geared towards a population that's selling drugs or victimizing people to increase their income at someone else's expense while claiming complete poverty.
You know, the mayor has this policy now of when suspected drug dealers, the police come in and take their welfare cards away from them because they're suspected of dealing drugs. What do you think of that? Is that a good idea?
That's a good idea. So we want to be quiet in the neighborhood, you know.
You want a quiet neighborhood?
Yep.
They're frustrated. You find a lot of parents here in desperate situations. They have children, lots of children around that see this every day, that are sometimes innocent victims of this.
With a lot of needles.
There's a bag with a lot of needles?
Yeah, I hate them. No good.
You see it every day? Do you see people dealing drugs?
Sometimes.
How do you know what they're doing?
Because sometimes the police go after them.
It's just a fight, Tom. When we come up that street, I noticed it was very quiet. It's too quiet. Why? Because they're sitting right here. But you need several of these cars. Your manpower problem becomes a problem because you don't have that expenditure to cover a 2-block area. So while they're sitting here, no doubt on the backside of another block, the deals are going down. I've often made the remark that it would be easier for us as investigators to find out who's not using cocaine versus who's using it. There isn't anybody here we haven't locked up more than once. Part of them are still on the street. In fact, I just heard a horror story this morning of a guy who's due back in for cocaine distribution and heroin distribution, who has in excess of $5,000 up in bail for several arrests. And it's terrible. There's your brand new school, built with state and federal funds and city funds. As you can see how close it is to this proximity. And here's the children that suffer again, standing on the sidewalk here.
48 hours later, the drug task force stormed this very house.
Open it. Hey! Police department! Can't get in!
This time, the police were too late. The suspected dealers had left.
Some of the houses we've served search warrants on half a dozen times in the last 5 years. And the reason is because of the transient nature of the population here. As we bring in the individuals, they're held on minimal bail because of the lack of prison space. And what happens oftentimes is these people will then immediately go back to New York City, and someone else will take their place, and it's sort of like a revolving door.
Here. One is an abandoning of a motor vehicle, the other is a possession of Class A substance. January 5th, the trial.
Romero,
Orders that you stand released on your same conditions and recognizance until January 5th, 1990, sir, for trial. That would be at 8:30 in the morning in this courtroom. If you fail to appear, sir, you'll be subjected to a fine, a jail sentence, or both. That is all.
You have to understand that this is production line justice that nobody likes. That there are 19,000 criminal complaints coming through this particular court. Just this court, 500,000 criminal complaints being processed by the district courts annually. And you throw at that whole problem 100 or so judges on any given day and 300 or so prosecutors, and you can't deal with the scope of that problem. I think if you go through the courthouse and you see that the people working here, you see, one, a very dedicated bunch of people, but also you'll see people subject to burnout at a very early stage in their career.
Took a trial date for...
Thank you.
Okay. Kathy, I also have a pre-trial with you, and it's just going to be a trial. Oh, okay, great. Okay.
It seems to me that if the president is wanting to fight the war against drugs, this is the place to start. These are the front lines.
You just say, I want to have the full-blown hearing. And all you mean is you'll take the stand and tell the judge what your losses are.
Mr. Palmer's problem is the court. If you've got a strong court, you've got a very strong community. You have a weak court, and the community runs itself. We are not being backed by the courts to the point we should. And I think the public should start to get upset about it. Because when the public screams, Beacon Hill listens. When the cops scream, we're crying.
Oh, I'm sorry. There is a date here. November 22nd.
Thank you.
Court has your order to return for trial in this court.
Well, I think one of the problems in the system as we see it today is that if you were arrested this morning and you were to be arraigned this morning downstairs in the Lawrence District Court, the next event that would cause you to come back to court would be 3 months from this date.
Well, this matter was on for yesterday at 2 p.m. Vault was issued, but the warrant was withheld. At this point, we are elected to take a trial in this court. Respectfully request December 27th. Compliance on my discovery motion.
Walter Gustav.
Without being redundant, Your Honor, again, the same situation. Waivers have been filed. Respectfully requesting January 12th for trial.
It's not at all the justice system people think exists, and they should be aware of it. I mean, it's a crumbling system, and it's a system that's crumbling all across the state and really all across the Northeast in the larger urban settings. What you need is an entire system. You need police officers to be able to make the arrests, courts and judges and prosecutors to be able to process people appropriately and constitutionally, and you need prisons.
Prisons and jails, there simply aren't enough. Those we do have are overcrowded. It is a condition that leads to chaos. In August of 1988, a prison riot at the Lawrence jail led to the destruction of an entire wing, space that to date has not been repaired. Today, there are only 60 cells to house 242 prisoners. Outside the walls are the neighborhoods, where it is the innocent who live in prison. A prison of fear.
It's a hell of an environment to live in. You have to keep your mouth shut in here. You talk to no one. Most of these people in here can't be seen talking to a police officer. Won't be seen. Won't say hello to me unless they're totally out of their environment for fear of reprisal by somebody that night. Especially if, God forbid, a raid takes place in here that night. You must have talked to them. I saw you talking to an officer this afternoon. There were people trapped in that drug world, which are unfortunately family members. Here's a building on my left here that's half empty now. We shut down years ago. The landowner took it over, cleaned it up a little bit, and now it's going right down the tubes again.
When you have a neighborhood which is controlled by junkies, a neighborhood which is affected by the violence that goes along with drugs, what choice does a kid have? I mean, what opportunities does a kid have?
City Hall needs to come out and, in the language of the people here, educate them on the importance of why it is that they have to get involved with public safety issues, okay? And that means dropping a dime, if necessary, on drug dealers, pointing a finger.
It's 2:58 in the afternoon. I can guarantee you I'll come back at 1 o'clock this morning. These people will be sitting here, and I can get from anybody on the street anything I want, from a hooker on out.
usually work 5 to 1. A typical night, especially in detectives, you do anything from rapes to drugs. Basically, I'm assigned to the drug unit, and it's just by riding around and observing. You know, we know where the areas are, we know where the dealings are. He's a dealer, he's a dealer. Turn around. They're getting smarter. We're causing them to be a lot smarter. They're working out of 2, 3 houses, 3 or 4 streets tied in together.
405, that's going to be second floor.
The frustrations with all of it is arresting the same guy 3, 4 times. They get out on $500 cash bill. $20 bill will get them out for the night. Most of the dealers and myself are on a first-name basis now. We've made so many arrests, I mean, they get to know us. Hey, put that down.
I don't think he's good, sir. You can look all you want, sir.
Empty, sir. Checking up underneath the siding on this house. Sarge, see all the wrappers? The magazine, the wax magazines? Basically, in the winter, we depend on our informers for information. We hand them money, marked money, and we watch them go into the buildings, make a controlled buy, and then we do search warrants. Go, right there. That guy right there with the striped shirt. He's dropping money like crazy. If you're holding, give it to us. If not, if we find it, I'm going to charge you possession with intent.
$230. Nobody owns it. In a long skinny stick, we found it.
It's empty. It's empty. You dropped it with your left hand. I saw you drop it. You don't want to talk to us, huh, Victor? Huh? Does he want to talk? The laws are made to protect the defendants. They're made to protect them. They have all the rights. It's like tenants and landlords. Tenants have all the rights. We're the landlords. The criminals have other tenants, and they have all the rights.